What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. And in this video, I'm going to take you guys through my very own team selection for the upcoming Game Week 11. So yet another reminder that the Game Week 11 deadline will be happening on Friday evening. This might be Saturday morning, Friday afternoon, depending where you guys are around the world. But please make sure that you guys do have a notification for that deadline. Now, unfortunately, I won't be doing a deadline stream because I am going away this weekend, so don't rely on me for that kind of deadline stream reminder. But don't worry, in this team selection, I'll be running through all my transfer plans and my current Game Week 11 team so that you guys are up to date. But as always, I will update you guys on Twitter or on Discord with my final team selection, as I won't be doing a deadline stream, so make sure that you guys check me out on those channels. But as with every team selection, I'm going to be going through a quick review of Game Week 10 in the transfer plan earlier on this week. Went over the team with quite a lot of depth, and therefore this is going to be kind of a quick review and show you guys my final rank for Game Week 10. We're then going to move on to my Game Week 11 team selection, give you guys some context of what I'm currently dealing with. Spoiler alert, there's quite a few injury flags. Then to kind of conclude the video, I'm going to be running through my transfer plan, as I do have one free transfer and 2.0 million in the bank. So that's something you guys are interested in. Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So first off, we're going to go over a quick review of Game Week 10, and as you guys can see bottom right hand side, the score has not changed since our transfer plan because I had none of my bench options coming off the bench. I had a full starting 11, and therefore the 74 points is going to stay constant. But in terms of the overall rank, we did get a nice green arrow to just below the top 500k, currently sitting at 450k. That's going to lead us to an overall points total of 595, but let me know where you guys are currently sitting in the overall ranks and how many points did you guys score in Game Week 10. As you always do, the first department to talk about is going to be our bench, and this week we actually did make use of our bench. Kurt Zouma was going to come off our bench for the injured Mitrovich, and that's going to add that extra 2 points. Now, unfortunately, I did not actually start Andreas Pereira. He got a goal, no bonus points, but 6 points from a 4.5 midfielder, you're always going to take that. Then the final option, Neko Williams, actually lost his starting position. This was confirmed on Monday evening when Nottingham Forest did take on Aston Villa. Sergio Aurier was favoured to him, but he did come off on about the 58th minute, so therefore I don't think Aurier's fitness is at the current peak. Now this is a little bit of a dilemma for Game Week 12. As you guys know, the Man City vs Arsenal blank fixture is going to throw a spanner in the works, and therefore I really do need Neko Williams to be back in that starting 11. Then finally, Danny Ward with only 1 point. Thought I might actually play him this week, but luckily I did actually stick with Nick Pope. Talking about Nick Pope, let's go on to the defensive department, and yes, only 1 point net gained from starting Pope over Danny Ward. The Newcastle defense, I actually know what to say about them, haven't kept a clean sheet since bringing them in on my Game Week 8 wildcard. So no, Trippier did not actually keep a clean sheet or was actually taken off early. He managed to get an assist and 2 bonus points, and he's proving to be a real attacking threat. Same can be said about Cancelo, massive 18 points, already spoken about that. A goal, an assist, and a clean sheet, 3 bonus points to boot. The old Cancelo's back. The old Reese James is also back though, benched by Graham Potter, only 1 point appearance, and unfortunately he also got injured in the Champions League this week. The midfield department, De Bruyne got us an assist, Maddison got us 1 point and a yellow card, and that's going to be a major concern because if he racks up one more yellow card, he is suspended for a game. Then going on to Martinelli, don't really want to talk about him because I'm getting flashbacks as a Liverpool fan, but great performance from himself and Arsenal as a whole. And if that wasn't even bad enough, I sold Saka for Zaha, and Saka goes and gets 2 goals. So yes, the Saka to Zaha move might have been a little bit strange, but I did actually trust Wilfried Zaha, and hopefully from now till Game Week 16, he does outperform Saka. Then finally our forward line, Haaland captain, 12 points, 6 points double there, only 1 goal from the Norwegian. A little bit disappointed with that, but I guess everyone's captaining him anyway, so not really that many gains to be had. Then Mitrovich was 0 points, wasn't even in the squad, and that's why Kurt Zouma will come off our bench. Then the final option, Solanke, probably the king of our game week, a massive 8 points. Bournemouth coming back to beat Leicester in the second half, and he got 2 assists. So overall, in terms of the team, pretty happy with that. I want it to be top 500k by Game Week 10. It's 1 game week later, so I guess not that bad. But hopefully from now to the end of the season, we can boost up this rank quite a lot. But as mentioned earlier on, let me know how you guys did in Game Week 10. Was it a good game week, a bad game week, or somewhere in between? Always like to see how you guys are keeping up. But now going on to the Game Week 11 team selection, I'm going to slow down slightly because I ran through the kind of Game Week 10 review quite quickly. I just didn't want to give you guys kind of repeated content from the transfer plan. But now that we're going into new content, I'll slow it down and talk a little bit better. Now starting off on our bench, and the bench might actually be called into play. A lot of injury flags currently. We don't really know what's going to happen with someone like a Reese James and Mitrovich, but hopefully those Thursday and Friday press conferences give us some clarity. So the bench is currently going to be Danny Ward against Crystal Palace. Don't really think I'm going to start him because of the same reasoning as the prior game weeks. I do own Wilfried Zaha, and therefore I do actually hope that Crystal Palace score. Added to that, the Leicester defense is back to its old self after keeping a clean sheet in Game Week 9. Looks like they can't buy a clean sheet at the moment. Then we have Kurt Zouma against Southampton away, tougher game on paper, but if you guys did watch the Ultimate Guide, West Ham's offensive form is pretty strong, and therefore you could even get a clean sheet in that one. Then Andreas Pereira against Bournemouth might be our only kind of Fulham option depending on Mitrovich's fitness, and we might also rely on him to start in our starting 11. Then finally we have Neko Williams against Wolves. Now you guys know about Wolves, kind of their attacking threat is subpar. And therefore, even against Nottingham Forest, they might keep a clean sheet, so maybe even Neko Williams could be an option this week, as long as they start over Serge Aurier. But overall, lucky that I have kind of a good bench this week, and this might play into the transfer plan, because if I do have these 3 assets on my bench, and I could actually just play them, I might just bank the transfer or not transfer out one of my injured options. But let's go on to the starting 11 to give you guys some more clarity and context about what I'm talking about. The first player is going to be Nick Pope, and the reason I'm starting him, like I mentioned with kind of Danny Ward, is that I don't own any United assets, and therefore I hope that Newcastle keep a clean sheet, and that won't jeopardize my attackers, as I don't own any United attackers. Now, am I confident of a clean sheet? Absolutely not. I do think United will score here, especially because this game will be at Old Trafford, but I guess Nick Pope might rack up some save points. We then have Cancelo against Liverpool. Now, Liverpool's form is not that great at the moment, but I am expecting them to at least score against Man City. But with Cancelo, he does offer that odd attacking threat, so I'm super confident of him actually getting some points this week if Man City continues to play the way they have. But yes, I do expect both teams to kind of score, both attacking sides. I don't really see kind of a 0-0, that sort of thing. So hopefully Cancelo does get us an attacking return. Same, I guess, could be said about Trippier. I just mentioned with Nick Pope. Don't think they're going to keep a clean sheet, but Trippier is offering loads of attacking threat. And who kind of knows with the English international? But now we move on to one of the first injured players at the current moment. Reese James picked up an injury last night in the Champions League game against AC Milan, but the exact extent of that injury is a little bit unknown. So Potter after the game said that he might be ready for Aston Villa. They have to wait and see. 24 to 48 hours is kind of a minimum to kind of assess him. So let's hold thumbs that he will be back for Game Week 11. But I don't think that's a little bit naive. I think maybe Game Week 12 will be a more realistic expectation, especially because of the fixture congestion coming up. Don't exactly think they'll rush Reese James back. I guess added to that in Game Week 10 against Wolves, they played a pretty beat team and they ended up winning, so I guess the confidence of Potter in those options and without Reese James is probably quite high. But right now I do have him in my starting 11 because if he is fit, I hope that he does start because it's a great fixture against Aston Villa. Then moving on to midfield department, starting off with KDB, and I just trust KDB in these bigger games. Always love to score, even against Liverpool. He has a great record against them, and therefore I'm super confident of keeping him over someone like a Mo Salah. So Man City's form is undeniable, Liverpool's form is also undeniable, undeniably bad. So let's hope that Man City score a few goals, De Bruyne is involved, but then maybe they'll let Liverpool win the game. Then Maddison comes in, hopefully no yellow card this week. Please James, don't get a yellow card because I really do need you in Game Week 12. So let's hold off on that suspension. But Crystal Palace at home, you guys know about Crystal Palace and their poor defensive stats. Yes, they have played some stronger teams, but I do think Leicester are quite an attacking side, and therefore I do have hope for James Maddison. Now midfield department continues to get better and better because Martinelli against Leeds away is a plump fixture for him, in great form at the moment, Arsenal looking super strong, and therefore I have high hopes for the cheap option. Now at his price point, just incredible value for money, and that's why I can't really complain about him too much, but I do still have some pretty high expectations for him. I guess the same could be said about Wilfried Zaha because I took him from Saka to Zaha last week. Saka's outperforming him at the current moment. That transfer looks like a mistake, so I'm really hoping that Zaha kind of rebounds and scores a few against Leicester. But as you guys can see, in terms of the midfield department, super strong fixtures. Yes, De Bruyne has Liverpool, but they can't defend at the moment, and therefore I'm expecting attacking returns from all 4 of these assets. And now going on to our forward department, we're going to start off with Erling Haaland. No brainer there, is in great form at the current moment. I'm expecting him to do some damage against the Liverpool side, and we'll talk about him a little bit later on in terms of captaincy. Then we have Mitrovich, who's our second option that might actually be injured, so therefore please wait for that press conference before kind of taking him out or keeping him, because I really like him to be back for Game Week 11 against Bournemouth at home. So great fixture on paper there, and I'm going to bring in Solanke as well because he actually has the reverse game. He plays Fulham away, so both these two assets are facing each other, so let's pray for an absolute goal fest. But actually quietly confident about this kind of newly promoted derby because both these two sides can't defend. Their attacking stats aren't the best, but hopefully they both end up scoring. Now before we talk about the kind of team structure and the injury news, let's go over our captaincy decision for this game week. Now yes, there are some options in our midfield department that look quite strong. De Bruyne, as I mentioned, great record against Liverpool. We have Maddison against Crystal Palace, Zaha against Leicester, even Martinelli against Leeds, but currently my captaincy is going to be on Haaland. I just think right now is the best time to face this Liverpool side. Who kind of knows what's going to happen tonight against Rangers in the Champions League? If they continue to play as badly as they are currently, then Haaland might even be a triple captaincy consideration. I just feel like this game has so much hype behind it. If you thought that Haaland was hyped for the United derby, he'll probably be even more hyped for this Liverpool derby, and therefore I'm expecting big things from him. Now I guess my choice is made slightly easier because I don't own a Harry Kane or Son, these sort of options, so if you guys do have them, you might consider them, but right now I'm on Haaland. But now going on to the overall team structure before we go on to the transfer plan because I want to show you guys what I'm currently dealing with. So right now the 2 players that are yellow flagged are going to be Reese James and Mitrovich. Now at this current moment, as I'm recording this video on Wednesday afternoon, I can't tell you guys if they'll be back for Game Week 11 or not, but I will update you with my final thoughts before the deadline over on Twitter or on Discord. But currently these 2 options might not actually play in Game Week 11, and that's how I was talking about Kurt Zouma and Andreas coming off the bench and having to rely on them. So right now I could simply bench Reese James and Mitrovich depending on how long they're actually out for, and even have Neko Williams as another bench coverage. So overall in terms of the transfer plan, not in super kind of high waters here. I do have some bench coverage if I need it, but let's hope that Reese James and Mitrovich are back for Game Week 11. Let me know how your squad's setting up for this upcoming game week. Is it looking good? Is it looking bad? How many yellow flags do you guys have? As I have seen some teams that look like an absolute rainbow. But taking those final thoughts that I just mentioned about the injured players, let's go on to the transfer plan this week. And as mentioned prior, we got Mitrovich and we also have Reese James. So in terms of these two options, really do hope that they're back for Game Week 11. Great fixtures on paper there. Mitrovich especially has a nice run of attacking fixtures. Reese James on the other hand, not the best fixtures in the world, but he is such an attacking outlet. Now I do think though, however, if I kind of give my predictions, I think that Mitrovich might be back for Game Week 11, whereas with Reese James, even if he is back, don't think they'll risk him. Maybe just play Ruben Loftus-Cheek at right back or right wing back, and then keep him on the bench for Game Week 12 onwards. But the Chelsea fixtures kind of get a little bit tougher from Game Week 12 to Game Week 16, and therefore might even be worth taking him out. But just for the transfer plan's sake and almost an ultimate guide section here, I'm going to go over replacements for Mitrovich and Reese James to cover both scenarios in case you guys want to take either of these two assets out. So let's go over the replacements for the option that's more likely to be replaced, and that's going to be Reese James, unfortunately. So in terms of Reese James, there are some replacements that have been floating around. Obviously, I currently own a Trippier, I own a Cancelo, so I won't be going for those assets, but I would recommend those two if you guys don't have them. And then obviously Kurt Zouma as an alternative. However, in Game Week 12, if you guys do need him to play, he plays Liverpool, which might not be the best game on paper. So in terms of Cancelo, Trippier, or Zouma, all three of those options are quite reliable, and I'd recommend them to you guys. But in terms of my own team here, I have to go for some alternatives, and the first option I want to detail is going to be Perisic. So right now, Perisic is my favorite option to go for as a Reese James replacement. I'm going from one wing back to another wing back, but at the end of the day, I just hope that Perisic plays. So we mentioned this in the Ultimate Guide yesterday that Spurs fixtures from now till Game Week 16 look simply outstanding, and that's why for a kind of premium defender replacement, Perisic looked quite good. But please do watch the game tonight, or as you guys are watching this video last night. If Perisic does play the full game, I'm not super confident of him playing on the weekend. So in terms of the fullbacks, there might be some rotation for those Spurs assets. Doherty actually played his first game on the weekend, so with him back in the mix, who kind of knows? So if you guys aren't confident about Perisic's start, there's another alternative from Spurs, and I'm actually looking at potentially Eric Dyer. So yes, not the most kind of exciting pick, but he's at centre back, he offers some goal threat, and he should be playing most of the games for Spurs. So let's just see what happens in the Champions League tonight, but currently Perisic is my favourite replacement, otherwise Eric Dyer could be a second. The next option is going to be from Brighton, Lewis Dunk. Nice to see that Brighton are still keeping up with some defensive form, and with two fixtures against Brentford and Nottingham Forest coming up, they're simply prime. Unfortunately, after that for Brighton, they do face Man City and then Chelsea, so on paper those two games will be quite rough, but Brighton's attacking and defensive stats are looking simply superb. So yes, you could go for an Estupinan, but I'm going for Lewis Dunk. He's nailed in that starting 11, could go for a Falkman as well, but I just prefer Dunk at that price point, and that's why he could be a nice replacement. The next option is going to be Kilman from Wolves. Now yes, they do have some fullbacks from Wolves, such as Johnny and Ait Nori, but I just prefer the centre backs because it seems like there might be some rotation in that backline. Now Wolves with the whole managerial situation haven't really found a nice starting 11, and therefore that's why I'm a little bit worried about those wingbacks. So Kilman comes in here like Lewis Dunk, kind of a boring option, but they should hopefully get you some points, and we did mention those Wolves nice fixtures in yesterday's Ultimate Guide. So it seems like to me the Perisic pick is slightly more exciting than a Dunk or Kilman. You guys could go for a Johnny if you want, or a Estupinan. I just prefer these centre backs because of their kind of nailed on starts, but Eric Dyer could come in the mix if I don't go for Perisic. Let me know in the comments down below, who's your Reese James replacement if you are taking him out. This might have actually been Trent if I was to go for him, and that's where the other talking point comes about. If you're willing to bench Reese James this week, kind of get some more news about the injury, if it's going to be a long-term one, you could always go for Van Dijk from Game Week 12 to Game Week 16. So throwing that into the mix, you guys have already seen my bench. That could be a situation that I actually do. I could just bench Reese James this week if he is going to be injured, then take him to Van Dijk next week, and hopefully the Liverpool defense looks better against Man City. But now going on to the Mitrovich replacements, and as I mentioned, Reese James definitely more likely to probably miss Game Week 11 than Mitrovich will. But still, if you guys do want to take Mitrovich out, or if he's injured for a long amount of time, these are the three replacements I'd potentially look at. Now I want to give you guys a slight spoiler alert here because the forward options have simply gone off a hill. They looked great a couple of game weeks ago, but from now to Game Week 16, not that many options to actually look at, besides maybe a Haaland and a Solanke. But I do own those two assets, but if you guys don't, a Haaland's obviously a no-brainer, but a Solanke, if you guys want to go for a downgrade, is a nice little alternative. But for my own team, I already own those two assets, so let's go over some replacements that are out of the box. Now the first one is going to be Diego Jota, but this could also be Darwin Núñez, depending on where your guys' preference is. I personally prefer Darwin Núñez in terms of the stats, but I do think that Jota's more nailed at left wing now that Luis Diaz is injured. Now the next fixture is terrible on paper, Man City at home. Yes, it is a home game, but it is Man City, so I wouldn't be expecting too many points from Jota or Darwin this week, but from Game Week 12 onwards, the fixtures are some of the best in the Prem. So if you guys don't want to go for a Salah, this could be an alternative, a cheap alternative, and if we're not committing as much price like a Salah, and therefore there's a little bit of flexibility on points. So yes, Jota, Darwin could be a replacement. I don't exactly know if I'd go for them this week, as they are facing a pretty strong Man City team. Now throwing out another alternative here, I'm going to be going over Welbeck for Brighton. Yes, I know Welbeck's name kind of springs up once and again every time he goes on a little bit of a run, but the reason I'm going for him is that a lot of people are looking at a Trossard, and that's why I'm going to pitch Welbeck as a Mitrovich replacement. Yes, he might not be as elegant as kind of a Trossard, score as many goals, assists, he is a little bit cheaper though. And therefore if you guys want to go for an alternative for the short term, Brentford away and Nottingham Forest at home are two of the best fixtures in the Prem. Now as with Lewis Dunk, Man City and Chelsea afterwards, so I wouldn't be super confident of him getting points then, but if you can bench him for game week 13 and 14, that's a simple plan to go for. But you guys can see that the forward options aren't as great if I am recommending Welbeck, but if you guys look at the stats, I think he's an adequate replacement for Mitrovich if you do need one. Then the final player to talk about, and the reason I put him last is because you guys might need a significant amount of money to upgrade, it's going to be Harry Kane. So for me, Harry Kane, if you guys have got a little bit cold on a Mo Salah, if you've already taken Salah to another option, maybe you're going to downgrade De Bruyne with 2 free transfers, Harry Kane could be an alternative to look at, especially if you want to captain him in game week 11. Now I might not recommend that as Haaland's effective ownership will still be quite high, Liverpool's defense is quite bad, but Everton at home is a nice fixture for Harry Kane. Talking about the form as well, is an informed striker at the current moment, and when Harry Kane is on fire, you guys want to bring him in. But yes, this might be a little bit of an unrealistic replacement. Mitrovich to Harry Kane, basically double Mitrovich's kind of value, but I still think he might be an alternative if you guys do have 2 free transfers. And that's what I was talking about, kind of the bench rotation. If I can bench a Reese James and a Mitrovich this week, and then take him to Harry Kane in game week 12, that might be actually the play to go for if I want to do it. But other than that, there are some other forwards that you guys could look at. I'd probably get Solanke if you guys don't have him. Nice fixtures for Bournemouth upcoming, and at least they are showing some slight attacking threat. But let me know who your guys' Mitrovich replacement would be or is if you guys are taking him out. But this is basically a wrap up the video, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. Please like if you did and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. As I mentioned, no deadline stream for Game Week 11, but I'll be posting my team over on Twitter or on the Discord server. But I'm going to sign you off. This has been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.